follow it. Samkele, very good morning to you. Just take it back to, I mean, we've heard claims, allegations, controversy around Supra Mahumapelo in the past, but what is this most recent one coming out from Solidarity at the weekend related to Denel? Just take us back a little bit, give us some a brief history there.
Well, Yveka, you would understand that Supra has a young son who's about 20 years old, Samkele Mahumapelo. He's been granted R1 million bursary to study aviation at a Port Alfred Aviation School. So even though the report reports that the Report newspaper reports that Supra's son had been awarded this bursary controversially because he had even failed to submit the application for this bursary on time. He had been granted this bursary after the deadline had been met for young South Africans who want to study aviation to send through their applications for this bursary. He sent his application late, but he was granted this application. But this also comes at a time just after the new Public Enterprises Minister, Pravin Gordhan, had dismantled the previous Denel board and instilled a new board. You understand that Denel has also been at the epicenter of allegations of state capture and corruption linked to the Gupta family, which Supra Mahumapelo is seemingly aligned to. As you recall, historical events that have transpired within the Northwest Province and the Free State, which have basically been a litmus test of state capture by the Gupta family. You'd remember that story that our colleague Michael Apple did on that medical story of Mediosa, the medical trucks that were going around to communities providing services. They got money somewhat illegally as well. The premier being entangled in that issue of corruption as well, with the Economic Freedom Fighters, the EFF, bringing forward a motion of no confidence against the premier, supported by the Democratic Alliance within the Northwest Province. So it seems as if the premier of the Northwest, Supra Mahumapelo, has a lot of questions to answer to. But surprisingly, I did speak to him over the weekend over SMSs. I'm just going to quote an SMS that he sent back to me when I asked him about this Denel project and the upcoming motion of no confidence against him on Tuesday. He responded, let me just quote him verbatim, Yveka. He says, quote, leadership agreed that Keda Papela and Acting Secretary Janchi are the only ones to speak. I will await their instruction going forward. I'm a disciplined cadre of the ANC, unquote. That's the Premier of the Northwest. They're responding to me yesterday via SMS when I wanted to ask him a few questions. So how I'd go about doing these live crossings and respond to his side of the story and his version. He's choosing not to respond and saying that it's only the ANC that will speak on these matters and not him.
All right, so when and if this vote of no confidence, if it actually does happen, Samkele, what is the basis for that? Because we know these allegations about Denel coming up just over the weekend, but the vote of no confidence, what is the actual reason given for that?
Well, actually, Yveka, the vote of no confidence against Supra Mahumapelo, the Premier of the Northwest, is basically around issues of corruption, maladministration and fraud. You'd also look at how the province itself has been somewhat of a den of corruption. If you look at the revelations of the Minister of Health, Aaron Motsoaledi, who did not know anything about the Mediosa contract and how it was awarded to the Gupta family. You'd remember that public spat that broke out between Supra Mahumapelo, the Premier, and Aaron Motsoaledi. In fact, Supra Mahumapelo came into studio here to speak about that controversial contract, saying that Aaron Motsoaledi had no jurisdiction coming into his province without announcing or telling him that he's coming to do an oversight visit or asking for any documentation that relates to that Mediosa contract and how the DG, the Director General, should be dealt with. But also, this comes at a time just after the revelations, the other interesting revelations by Colin Mahine, the president of the Youth League, who's a former MEC of Infrastructure and Public Works in that province. He says that he was introduced to the Gupta family not by the former president of the country, Jacob Zuma, but instead, surprisingly, Supra Mahumapelo, who's been side by side campaigning and advocating for his support for the former president Jacob Zuma, whom his best friends are the Gupta family. So it's rather surprising how these revelations are coming forth. Also remember that Colin Mahine had a 5 million rands house bought for him in Pretoria East by the Gupta family. So it pretty much seems like the Northwest is a fertile ground for the Gupta family.
All right, and very quickly for us, Samkele, I mean, just give us some idea of the support or lack of support that Supra Mahumapelo enjoys in the Northwest. What would his departure, if that happens, if he does not survive that vote of no confidence, what would that mean in the bigger picture for somebody who was largely seen as a Zuma man?
Well, it would be rather interesting because you've got former MECs such as Madota Sambata, who is also the SACP provincial secretary, who's still an MP within the Northwest province. He's staunchly against Supra Mahumapelo. Remember those divisions that were going towards the ANC conference in December at the 54th National Conference. The Northwest was largely split down the middle. The deputy speaker of the legislature was somewhat being recalled by the cabal supporting Supra Mahumapelo within the province, because she supported ANC Deputy President then Cyril Ramaphosa, who is now the president of the ANC and of the country. President Cyril Ramaphosa also had to rein in Supra Mahumapelo after that spat with Aaron Motsoaledi out in the public domain. But provincially, within the political alignment within the Northwest province, you've got the ANC Women's League, which is largely in support of Supra Mahumapelo. But you never know in politics. In politics, 24 hours is a long time. And then you've got the Provincial Youth League, which is seemingly split. The provincial leadership is seemingly backing the ANC Youth League President Colin Maine and taking a staunch attack and stance against Supra Mahumapelo. And the likes of Kenny Muralong, who's the former Youth League provincial chairperson in that province, and also a former PEC member who was also the deputy chairperson of the National Youth Development Agency, there against Supra Mahumapelo. So Supra is pretty much left with the support of the ANC Women's League in the province. The Youth League has shipped over to ANC Youth League President Colin Maine, supporting his bid in his fight against Supra Mahumapelo in that province. And the Tripartite Alliance, COSATU and the SACP, seemingly don't want anything to do with Supra.
All right.